I can't hear anything. Are you guys all on mute?
We all muted?
That's
hilarious.
Weird.
It's like
blanking someone.
Yeah.
It's the sound of silence. There you go.
Exactly.
Jeez. That freaked me out for a second there. It's creepy. Hello, and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 381. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Baines. Hi, Baines.
Hello.
And also Pitt. Hi, Pitt. Hi. And Tance. Hi, Tance.
Hello.
So we're all together. Cool. And so what we're going to talk about in this Quackcast today are a bunch of things, mainly the new stuff that we've got for the Drunk Duck, for the Duck, which is our comment and reply notification features. Finally, we've got them. They were paid for by our lovely people who donated all that money all that time ago. Finally, it's live on the site after ages of having them tested. New sort of link bars at the top of the site, which I love. That's the thing that I like with the little icons. Also, HTTPS that the site has now, which is finally, you won't get warnings about that every 5 seconds. And other stuff like us moving to a new ad system. No more Project Wonderful. It's going to be possibly an ad system that we're going to run ourselves. So you can pay for ads. You can give us money and we'll put you on the site. We'll probably do that through a Patreon or direct payments to us through PayPal. Don't know yet. Got to sort that out. What else have we got? We've got all that stuff. And Tance has her Twitter feature every Sunday where she features a comic, talks about all its great points, and it's really cool. So good work for that.
And you have to ask for it on a first come, first served basis. We don't pick that one. You ask for it and you get it. Ask and you shall listen. That's it.
Ask and you shall receive. And finally, if we've got time, we want to talk about Tantarine's news post today, which was about so-called progressives, or basically forcing creators to do certain things in order to be part of something else. Basically saying, if you do this, if you're a woman, you have to do this kind of work to be a woman. Or if you're a man, you have to do this. So yeah, so that can leave a bad taste in the mouth. But before we get into all that, got to do the featured comic. And the featured comic this week was a feature that I did, and it was Bob and Rob. So listen to me talking about Bob and Rob. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Bob and Rob. Rob doesn't remember anything. Where is she? Why is she wearing an old-fashioned deep-sea diving suit in the middle of the desert? Bob is a tiny little cowboy who works in a bar. Sort of. Well, you'll see if you read it. They team up and face adventures together. This is a very pretty comic. It's all done with colourful watercolour and ink pen. The watercolour paper gives it a nice texture. The art is very beautiful and bright and light. It's exaggerated and comical. The story is an action-packed comedy. Sometimes the syntax is a little strange, but that lends to the charm of the comic. The author is French, I believe. It's quite fun. Typical with watercolor is that you're going to have lots of very thin washes over the white paper, so that means everything is very bright and illuminated, quite light. So that's what the comic has. It has this very bright look, and it has this beautiful texture effect, which is the variable amount that the paint is absorbed into the paper. It gives it a very nice effect. It's pretty hard to achieve digitally, so that makes it sort of stand out and very unique these days when most comics are digital. So yeah, it looks really cool. It's a Bob and Rob. I love the way they've got the two names that are variants of Robert or Roberta or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Bobby. Yeah, so far I really like the adventures. They're quite simple little stories. It's slowly building on itself. There's not too many pages so far, but yeah, it's they've had a few little adventures in the desert kind of wasteland where they found themselves. There's no explanation yet as to how they both got there or why they're there or whatever. So you're learning along with the characters, which is always a lot of fun. Okay, so I hope you enjoy Rob and Bob by Fish Gum, rated E. And that was our featured comic, Rob and Bob, or Bob and Rob, rather. Bob and Rob. I get those confused for some reason. I don't know why. Bob, Rob. Both names for Robert, but in this case, no, you would have heard about that in the whole thing. Okay, so next up we have the featured music, which Gumball has just now gave me just a few hours ago. So he rushed it in just under the wire.
Oh, cool.
And it's the theme to Sky Commander, which is a comic by Monique McNaughton. Coy Dog, which is her name on Drunk Duck, I believe. Great comic artist who does work in this very old-fashioned style, which I like. You know, if you've ever seen Prince Valiant or any of those kind of old-style comics, very much in that retro style. It's amazing. It's so cool. It's really iconic. So, Sky Commander, this music. This has a very futuristic sound to it, this track. At first glance, it's a little modern for a comic set in the 1940s. So you wouldn't really sort of think that's a natural fit. But I think of it like it's a flight theme for the character. So as the Sky Commander zooms through the clouds in his shiny metal streamlined modern gear, producing an expanding vapor trail behind him, crisp and white against the eggshell blue sky. This music sort of gives you that kind of feel that, you know, it's his flight theme. If it was a movie, that's the kind of sound that would introduce his flight. So yeah, take it away, Gumwallace, with Sky Commander. That was our musical theme. Gumwallace, thank you very much for Sky Commander. Okay, guys. Have you all seen our new comment for whatever it is? Our comment reply stuff and reply notifications.
Yes, it's very cool. Very exciting.
Yeah, we talked about
Makes me want to do more pages, man.
Exactly.
So I can get some notifications.
Exactly, test it out, or just not even test it out, but be able to communicate with people. We talked about this ages ago, that what makes a comic site like Drunk Duck what it is the community, but what makes the community is your ability to communicate with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And to have those ongoing conversations. And now you really possibly can. I don't know myself because I haven't really updated any pages, so it hasn't really encouraged people to do any new comments. So maybe it will. Maybe it will have that kind of thing. Well, Tance, you do pages. All of us are sort of really slow. You're like our racehorse.
You don't do pages. You are still producing things.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure yet of receiving a comment in the new system because I'm actually going to update Monday.
Oh.
There shall be an update. So I'm expecting an influx, a tsunami of amazing comments then.
Yeah, you'll be the first one.
I did receive replies to comments that I gave, and that was very moved very smoothly and worked very well, and I'm very excited for it. And the biggest reason is that now that I do the features in general, I mean, I have been getting into the groove of doing features because of the whole Twitter community, let's say, that is generally asking for cross promotion of different comics and web comics and everything. So the problem was that as I was binge reading archives, I wanted to comment on certain pages, but he or she, the creator, was never gonna see those comments.
Exactly.
So I didn't.
Right.
I didn't enter them at all. And then telling to myself, okay, keep that in mind for that final huge comment that you're gonna. Well, of course, I forgot by the time I got to the final page, and I just left like 2 lines, 3 lines of the comment. That was that.
You just left 6 as your comment.
Exactly.
What?
You know
just the number 6.
The Playmire comment.
Yes. I actually did. I'm guilty of doing that to one person. I don't remember who it was, to be honest, because it was a few months back. But the archive was huge. I had all these things I had to say. I had said none of those things because, of course, the comment would be buried in the archive. And then by the time I finished, it was like 4 a.m. and I couldn't articulate anything, so I just put a 6.
Oh God, you actually did it! Oh my God.
Once, but I compensated in later times.
Yeah,
I returned. So
right. Yeah, I know. If I do that, it's sort of there's a slight satirical edge to it. I mean, it's not like 6, ha ha ha. I don't really think it's worth anything, but I'm putting this just for fun. But it's more like if someone else has done a number, then I'll follow a number, just as a.
I never find it like I prefer people to just leave me a 6.
Oh really?
If yeah. Instead of doing nothing, absolutely. Just go ahead and leave me a 6.
Nothing,
and I'll know that you have been there, and that you liked it enough to leave me a 6, and that's awesome.
Yeah, any comment is good.
Yeah.
As long as you get some kind of acknowledgement that someone's visited and viewed it, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I've left it as a joke maybe once or twice. I think on Pits we were all talking about that one time, so I went to her comment quickly, leave that. And then maybe one other time as a joke, like a series of us left escalating numbers on one comic. I remember it was pretty funny.
Oh,
it was like 5, 6, 7 or something. Yeah, it was on the Drunk Duck Awards maybe or something.
No, I think it was in one of my pages, and
it was one of yours. Okay,
I think so because I remember watching it happen. So it was probably on my comic, and Cream I think left a 6, and then someone else left a 7, and then they capped it with Scream returned them and put an 8. It might not have been Scream if it wasn't Sorry Scream, but it was someone like from the old guard that did that, and yeah, it was really fun to watch.
How cool! Well, now
and then,
other times I've left it though. I've racked my brain trying to think of a comment on a given page in the middle of a story when there's, like you're saying, Tans, there's so much you could say, and so much would be kind of pointless to say, like, I can't wait to see what happens next, which I say sometimes, but it's like, I don't know. I hate saying that all the time. And it's just, I'm just trying to figure out a good comment, and I'm just like, put so much effort into it, and then finally I just leave a 6. It's like, I don't know what else to say. But if they knew how much effort went into things before,
it was a very substantial 6.
It's a substantial 6. Yeah, a lot more thought went into it than into the whole rest of my life. But anyway, go ahead.
The funniest thing about this, showdown with the numbers in that particular page was that it of course, counted up. They upped the ante until number 10, and whoever put the number 10 wrote 10 full stop ha with an exclamation mark.
Like,
yeah, I got there first.
Yeah.
Yes, combo breaker is what they used to do. That's what the bastards would always do back in the day. Combo breaker.
Combo breaker?
Yeah. They shove that in when people are doing an ongoing thing. They go, haha, buggy you all.
I didn't know that.
Oh. Well, it'll be interesting as an author. You're going to be now denuded. Well, anyway, you're going to be snowed under with a bunch of notifications about those kind of comments. That will be interesting.
Deluge.
Yes, exactly. Deluge. That's it. So, and you'll think, oh my God, all these great comments. I've got all the notifications for, and you'll have a look, and it'll all be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm still gonna be happy though.
Well, yeah, it will be so interesting to actually use it in functioning in practice. That's what I'm trying to say, and just see how it is. See if it really does stimulate this kind of ongoing conversation and community, which I really, really am hoping that it will. So, yeah, it should work like in a Facebook kind of way, or that kind of thing. Although well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I really am. I have big hopes for it. That's the kind of stuff that I want to put forward on Drunk Duck. Stuff that stimulates community. Recently, I've had to do the HTTPS stuff. Well, pretty much because all the browsers have got together, like Chrome and Firefox and everything else, and they've said, okay, if you don't have this kind of stuff and you've got passwords on your site, we're gonna demote you, and we're gonna say your site is insecure and contains viruses and all this kind of stuff. Wow. So we've had to pay for this thing, even though we don't have any proper
banking,
no banking details, no social media or any of that details. We have to have the secure layer certificates on our site.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had to pay out a whole lot of money to have that on there, just so we can retain our tenuous spot in the online world. Keep our little toehold here. But yeah, so we've got that, and Project Wonderful is going away. Our beautiful ad system that we love so much, that we've been able to use for so long, that creators have been able to advertise with us, is going. So we have to have a new way to make money to pay for the site, or else I'm paying hundreds of dollars every month for the site out of my own money, which I don't want to do.
No.
So
imagine that.
Yeah. So instead, I'm paying hundreds of dollars for Alexi to give us a new ad system, and hopefully it'll be able to pay for itself. So what I've decided to do, rather than have Google AdWords or something like that, is have a custom ad system where people can actually come to us and say, okay, I'll give you $5 or I'll give you $2 to advertise my comic for like a day or something like that. And so that's what we'll do. We'll manually set up this stuff, and we'll have it, mainly for comic artists. If someone wants to come and advertise their T-shirt selling business, maybe we'll do that, but as long as it's not too spammy. But comics is what we hope to advertise. If it was through Google, it would be spammy ads for all sorts of crap, and that makes the site look terrible. So, if we have to do that, if that's if there's no other choice, then sure, we'll do that in the end. It's not off the table, but my preference is for a custom ad system where comic artists can advertise with us, or things that we want to advertise. If it's through Google, we don't get much say in what's advertised. We sort of get a say, but we don't really. But this way, it will be creators, hopefully. And yeah, people, I think really, a lot of the people who advertise with us, they don't really expect to get a lot of value out of it. They don't really expect to get a lot of hits or whatever. I think they're mainly doing it because they want to support Drunk Duck, which is a really, really good thing. They just want to show their support. And that's a lovely thing. And we're going to keep that ability for people. They can keep on showing their support for Drunk Duck and having their comic advertised with us. So, yeah. That will be a positive thing. But it's not made yet. Still got to wait. So, yeah, lots of things. Drunk Duck is moving ahead. Things are happening. And I think it's a positive thing. It's looking good. I just can't wait to use the whole comment reply thing.
Yeah.
And functionality.
You have to update them.
Go
ahead, update. It's
a fantastic influence for people to update, isn't it? It's a real good driver. What is the word for what I'm trying to think of? Influence? Incentive. It's an incentive. Yeah. So we should all be up. Typical Strange should have new pages. For God's sake, Baines.
Oh, for heaven's sake. It's ridiculous now.
I know. You're becoming like Pinky TA. It's weird.
I know. Without the quality. Which makes it even so horrendous.
You have plenty of quality. Shut up.
No. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. Not fishing for compliments, but if you want to continue.
You're just being a bravo for us.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I know, man. Gotta update. Get some comments. To get some notifications.
Exactly. See how it works. I had one notification so far since the whole thing's been up. And that was for
cool.
Someone did a reply to one of the comments that I left. And it was pretty cool. Actually, it was a comment on Redneck. I commented on Redneck, which was the featured music last week that Gumwallace gave us. Yeah. And I made a comment on there, and the guy replied back, and it was cool. So,
yeah, me too, man. I made a couple comments and got some notifications of replies, so I was able to know without sort of remembering to go back and see the reply. I was able to, look, they replied already.
Exactly, yeah.
Quite fun. Yeah.
So that's how it's always functioned. You comment on the most recent page of a comic, and then you think, I wonder if they replied to me. So you click back and check. And you do that like maybe for a couple of days or whatever. You won't keep on doing that, obviously. And it peters out because you just can't be bothered keeping on checking this page. You can't even remember to do it. So maybe the comic artist left you some interesting kind of comment replies, and you'll never know because you just haven't got that patience. Why should you? But now naturally it'll flow. You won't have to force it. You won't have to go, I wonder. Yeah, you can actually have a notification so you can go straight back. Maybe what we should do is just make comments all over the place, just so we'll get replies.
That's right.
That's also an incentive, actually.
It's a way to do it.
Exactly. It's an incentive to create your comic and get replies or get comments, but it's also an incentive to comment on people's comics on all sorts of ways. I expect you guys to be doing comments right now. fill the site with nice community information.
Make it rain.
Precisely. Comments. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Because that's what Drunk Duck is about. We're about the community. And I'm sick of other sites stealing our thunder and taking over from us. We've got to bring it back. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So what
we need the leads.
Sorry?
I don't know what I was talking about there. I'm sorry.
Suddenly giving us Glengarry Glen Ross kind of.
We need the Glengarry lead, the Glengarry comments.
It's a transition into your play with the.
Exactly. A lot of foul language and desperation.
Always.
That's a whole other story.
That's what your life is about, basically.
You know it. Yeah.
So what else was on our agenda for tonight, or today? Our schedule. We were going to talk about. Oh yes, Tance's Twitter features. So Tance, you're doing these Twitter features every Sunday, and they're not features as in the features where they just get picked out of the blue. Haha, you've been featured. This is basically Tance's promos for comics, and people
basically, yeah, that's actually accurate. So the idea is that we will promote you through the Duck Twitter account by giving you a feature where we will actually bring up the positive points and the good elements in your comic. So you don't need to be afraid. There won't be any, today I'm going to feature this comic and it sucks. That's never going to happen. So feel free to send me a message either on Twitter or via PQ, and it is on a first come first served basis. So the earlier you do it, the faster it's going to happen for you. I'm going to tell you which Sunday is going to be yours, and that's that. There are no other requirements, and it's going to be a thread. It's not just a single tweet. It's going to be a series of tweets all connected together and then immortalized in a Twitter moment where, people will be able, if they go to the Twitter or the Duck, Drunk Duck's Twitter page, they're going to click on moments and all the features are going to be listed there.
Oh, fantastic. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's not just tweets that are sort of thrown into the great ocean of the internet and disappear. After 5 days, the ripples have totally vanished and you'll never know about it again. This is something that is always sort of featured there. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Oh, and the one thing I forgot to say is that I'm going to pick frames or pages from your comic to, for every tweet to have an image. It's not going to be
it's not just text.
Yeah.
Well,
as somebody who has been featured already, thank you very much, Tanya, for
welcome.
The Epic of Butsov. I have to say it's very much worth the meager effort of just stepping up and saying that I'd like it, because she didn't just pick one or two frames. Like, I felt like I was reading an in-depth analysis of my comic book with very much frames that I probably would have picked to represent it. She did a very, very good job. So I definitely do this.
You'd recommend it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the idea isn't just to give you attention. So the feature has to be done a little carefully. So
What do you mean by carefully? Do you mean like well? Oh, I see what you mean. It has to be done in a way that is interesting and stuff like that. It's not just, hey guys, check out this comic. It's like, check out this comic
and
because...
not only that, if I can, and I cannot promise because I'm a human being, I cannot promise that I will always hit it on the nail, or I will get what you were going for in your comic. But the idea is, for me as a reader, to pay attention to it, to see what you as a creator are shooting for and what you are trying to get out to your audience. So, or what, even if it's not what you were going for, what at least I got as a reader. So
that's amazing that you're doing that.
Yeah, that's what I meant by
effort going in, yeah.
Which is why I only do one per week, because if you have a huge archive and I haven't been following your comic up to now, it's going to take some work.
Time.
Oh god, that's nightmarish, even to think about.
Sure. So yeah, some serious time, man.
All right, Tance, I'll give you a tip here as someone who's been doing featured comics on Drunk Duck for a decade. Okay, when you have comics with huge archives, you don't read through the whole archive to get a feeling of it. You read like maybe a big portion of the first few pages or whatever, and a portion of the last few pages. You don't want to really read the whole thing for it, because it's just, you're investing way too much of your time and effort. And that way you get a good feeling of where it came from, how it began, and where it is now, what readers are going to, get out of it. As well, really, it gives you a really good idea of where the artist is now, where the creator is now, and how they're doing it. Because, when they started, there was a certain bunch of things that influenced them or whatever, but the style was a bit more loose, or it wasn't really formed, it hasn't really coalesced yet. And then you read maybe the last, maybe 50 pages, something like that, which is a good amount. Still, that's huge. You get an idea of where they've come, how far they've come, and sort of a more crystalline idea of what it has become to them. So you don't have to read like 1,000 pages of their archive to really get a sense of it.
Yeah, of course. If it's this huge, and I haven't been following it, like actually this Sunday I'm going to be featuring used books because she got.
Oh my god! Yeah, 1,000 pages.
Speaking of the archive.
Fortunately, I have been following the webcomic, so I don't need to go back and read anything. I know already what I'm going to do and what pages I want to pick and stuff like that.
Okay.
The problem will be for me to actually find them in her archive. But yeah, if it's this huge, I might even ask the creator where they want me to focus. So because it's basically a promotion for them. So yeah. I'm not going to be a critic in the sense, like I'm not going to lie, because that will also be bad promotion for them. Because if I lie and people click on it and don't get what I'm promising, it's going to be bad for me and bad for the featured webcomic. So I'm not going to lie. I'm going to actually say truthful, positive things about whatever it is I'm going to be featuring. So, but I am going, if it's that huge, I'm going to ask the creator, okay, what do you want me to showcase out of your work? And how do you want this to come across? And like, help me, give me, this chapter and this chapter so that I can do it.
That's a good idea. And they could also give you images that they want to use.
Yeah, they could if they want to. Yeah. Or if they like, to be surprised, they can leave that up to me. But yes, definitely.
Exactly. That kind of thing is a good way to do it because, as you say, this is something where the creator is coming to you to promote.
Mm-hmm.
So the more input they put into it, the better, because then, it's a flattering thing to have someone else looking at your work and to have them talk about it, even if you ask them to do it. That's a flattering thing, and you don't want to hand everything to them. But it's not just about that. It's about you basically advertising their work or putting it forward to all the Drunk Duck followers. So it's a good idea to help you do it.
There is one thing I reserve the right to, though. If you tell me that, I want you to showcase this about my comic and I don't see it, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to showcase something else. So just making certain that everything is clear. I'm going to make sure that whatever it is that is my impression is what my positive impression is what goes on my feature. So if I don't see it, I'm not going to tell you I don't see it. I'm just not going to talk about it.
Yeah. That's fair. Like you said, that wouldn't really help the comic get the right kind of attention anyway, right? Like if it's something that's not necessarily there, or if you just don't see it, then it's better to not. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm doing pages, I'm definitely going to.
You don't have to be updating actively. I'm not even putting that as a condition. If you want your comic, even if it is on a hiatus, be featured, go ahead and PQ me. Just tell me that it's on hiatus and when it's going to start again so that I can say that. Yeah, I don't mind. Bring me your comics. I will feature them.
That's good, yeah, because the featured comics on Drunk Duck, people don't know they're going to be featured or whatever, and we don't want people coming up and saying, yeah, actually, could you please feature my work? No, we don't like doing that. It's that's not the culture of the features. And plus there are other kind of rules. It has to be at least 15 pages. They have to, be actively updating. It can't be a finished comic, blah, blah, blah. There's all that kind of stuff. It can't be an adult webcomic. But for yours, it's a lot looser. It can be a finished comic. It can be a comic that was finished like a year ago.
It cannot be an adult comic, I'm sorry, because I will not. Why can't it be an adult? Because honestly, I don't know how I can feature it for every, all ages audience. In any way.
You have to be logged in to view adult comics on Drunk Duck. And Twitter is something that is sort of outside of the Drunk Duck ecosystem, which means you're potentially going to have people from elsewhere coming in, and they're not going to be able to view adult comics unless they sign up. It's a good incentive to sign up, but it's not really going to be functionally very useful. Yeah.
However, I don't see why, if another admin would like to do that, to feature, or another, Drunk Tiger to feature adult comics on Twitter, they could do that because they can just, put a warning that this is a feature of an adult comic, and it's you can only get to it in this manner. But they also cannot put images because Twitter is going to ban. Is going literally to ban the account.
You could put images. You wouldn't have to put. You just have to censor them. Just not put explicit images. That's all.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So that would require more work and more tiptoeing.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest reason I don't do that.
Yeah, there's too many
I'm not
layers in the way. One thing you could also do if you wanted, of course, but it is more work, is you could mirror your whole feature on Drunk Dunk if you wanted to do that. If you want to do a news post, because Sunday is like an open day. So I'm not saying you should do that now, because already you're doing a lot of extra work by doing that, by doing your Twitter thing. But if you wanted to do that, you could.
I could just embed the moment on the, like, put the link and say, Twitter feature here, go click on it, and you don't actually have to even have a Twitter account to see it. So I could just, that's a good idea. I could just put the link as a news post.
Yes, so you don't have to do the whole like reposting all the images and all that kind of stuff. You just do a link to the actual thing you did on Twitter. That's a good idea. Because, there's you're not bumping off a news post on Sunday. So you may as well. Yeah. And it will help promote it as well. Which is what you want to do. Get more people over on the whole Drunk Duck Twitter thing. Twitter account. Quack chat. All that. So are you doing any of this with Emma Claire?
I'm doing the Quack chat. Basically, to be absolutely honest, the one that does and runs the Quack chat is Emma.
Yeah.
She comes up with the questions. She has this bot thingy that is connected to the account and pops out the question every 10 minutes, I think, when the event is running. So that is really all her. I'm just there to clap along and cheer and tell her that she's doing a great job. That's basically so it really is all her. Props go to her.
I love what you guys do with that stuff. So I hope people will apply to be featured through Twitter. Get in on that. What else were we going to talk about? We were going to mention this progressive thing. So Mixed Monsters, is that her name?
I don't know how to pronounce.
MKS Monsters. So she made a comment. She made a whole thread in the Drunk Duck forums about the fact that she wanted to get in on this kind of publishing thing about, promoting female webcomickers or female comickers. But when she tried to, they said, nah, we don't want you because you're not a real woman. Because you don't have a comic about romances or gay and lesbian stuff, so you're not actually interesting to us as a woman. You have to do that, those kind of things, to be eligible for our stuff. So, you can take it one way, you're not progressive enough, or you can take it another way, which is how I think about it, is forcing creators to fit into certain molds in order to be, eligible to be like, women do this kind of stuff, men do that. This is what we want from women. We don't want women doing comics about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, all this stuff. We want you to do this gay and lesbian stuff, because that's what
which is what MKS Monsters does, right? The Jekyll and Hyde
exactly
comic.
Actually, a BL.
The strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
A comical and adventurous retelling. At least that's what she's got on her banner. So she felt really, I don't know, put out by that. I suppose a lot of publishers or whatever groups like to, put out certain things. They have a brand and they put out certain things. But that's not what she's talking about, I think. She's talking about the fact that they are promoting themselves as in saying, we feature female webcomickers. We are behind women. Women are who we are presenting. But they're not presenting women. They're only presenting women who produce a very limited kind of comic. Which is a really weird thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they're not like presenting themselves that way.
No.
It's kind of odd.
They're saying we are promoting women. That's what at least Mix Monsters is telling us. But so women who produce stuff that don't fit into that that limited kind of idea aren't welcome.
Yeah, and I extrapolated on that in the news post a little bit because at least in my, not my personal experience, because I haven't ever tried to strike up any sort of deal of being promoted for being a woman and stuff like that, because I don't actually expect to ever be granted that sort of thing. Considering what my subject matter is in general. So I didn't even attempt that sort of thing. However, what I have seen going through Twitter and reading articles and watching drama unfold in various occasions, there is this general tendency for brands to want to promote a certain profile for their own companies, where not only the actual product that they are putting forth, like comic or the movie or whatever it is what they're putting forth, but also the product placement, so to speak, extends to the creator as well. So it's not just here is a progressive quote-unquote comic. Here is also the progressive sample of a creator, that created this progressive comic. So you have, especially you can see that in articles of the type, for example, for a movie, I don't remember which movie it is. It's a superhero movie, I think, where the title was a female composer is making the soundtrack for this, and it felt a little bit on the nose and almost a little derogatory in the sense that what's your name? Like it's her name, female composer.
Ladies and gentlemen, a lady.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's patronizing, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
We have a woman to make a musical thing. It's like coming to the circus to see the bearded lady. But instead of a beard, she makes music, I suppose. So that's one example that I have seen. Or another example is like here is this black queer man who creates webcomics, and we package him together with his progressive reimagining or production of a webcomic that is also very progressive. So we are, progressive on two levels. It's the inception of progress.
Yeah, that can be an issue. Yeah, that comes off as being very it's not that it's trying too hard. It's the fact that you have to have the creator being part of the work, really. Yeah, part of the promotion, which is can't the work just speak for itself? Do we have to have it's like in pop music. Once upon a time, that there's the whole song "Video Killed the Radio Star," basically. So everyone knows what that's about. Once upon a time, pop musicians became popular because of the sound of their music, and that's all you would know about them, and you'd buy the records because you heard them on the radio. And then they say MTV came along, but this happened long before MTV even existed. Was musicians became famous because of their image, so they looked a certain way. So you got the Beatles and the whole Help movie and all that kind of thing, and it became about the image of the artist as much as the music. of the artist, and that's continued today and sort of just gotten worse. And people sell themselves of the image of the artist, and the whatever they produce doesn't make really doesn't make that much difference. And that's what they want to do with webcomickers now as well. You've got that kind of thing. It's not just the work; the author has to have some kind of thing as well. So the work can't just be about lesbian issues, or maybe the work has nothing to do with lesbian stuff or whatever, or progressive stuff, but because the author is this, we'll promote that. Look at this tale of Sherlock Holmes told by a lesbian. You can
yeah. See, there is an element of logic in it, in the sense that a lesbian person or a black person or a woman will perhaps have far more experience, personal experience, in what it is to be, lesbian or black or a woman. So they will imbue the characters that are that with this experience, thus give the audience a bigger range of experiences. I say the word experience.
A more authentic portrayal of the experience.
More authentic. But I think that it has gone far beyond that by now, because, like I gave the example of the woman making the soundtrack, it's not about the art and the truth behind the art anymore. It's just that we need art made by that.
You tick the boxes.
Yes. And that, I think, also put a lot of pressure on artists. Like, it's a sort of reverse McCarthyism almost, in that you have to be typecast in very specific things in order to make it in very specific fields. Otherwise, you at least have a handicap. Of course, in McCarthyism, you were blacklisted and you didn't have any chance. But I'm saying, like, in the vein of that particular approach to how people get hired, or they get promotion, or they get, showcased in any case.
Exactly. So, the creator becomes a hugely important aspect of the whole selling stuff, whereas that should be secondary. It really shouldn't.
And I also noticed very recently, now I'm just starting to get into this sort of subcategories, let's say, of people's progressiveness, because now you have ranges and levels of progressiveness. How progressive are you? And depending on how progressive you are judged to be by the community, you get more acceptance and promotion and blah blah. So you have, if women, for example, do not fully ascribe to a series of tenets in terms of politics, in terms of certain theories about management of social issues. I don't really want to go into it because that's going to open a whole different kind of worms. But if they don't ascribe to that, and if they have a slightly divergent opinion about things, they get slapped with very derogatory names, and they are considered like the enemy, and that those are the ones that should be excommunicated or ostracized, in a sense, from whatever is the in-group.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe that I have seen if you have a woman creating something that looks very much like a man's work, and people would expect this to be made by a man, she might actually be penalized for it.
Yeah, that could happen. Like poor old Monique McNaughton with her work about mainly Some of it's about detectives and stuff like that, but a lot of her work is mainly about war and fighter planes and soldiers and like rocket-powered superheroes destroying German bombers and stuff like that. None of that's traditionally feminine. So, she's not doing X-rated love stories or which is the mixed monsters thing she's talking about, or any of that kind of stuff. So how can she be a woman? How can she be allowed? She should be like a straight white man doing this work, and then she'd just be lumped in with those guys. Nothing womanly about her, because ladies aren't allowed to be interested in fighter planes.
That's right. Yeah.
Unless they feature like a pilot that is, I don't know. Let me think. Like a pilot
Trans.
that is, maybe trans or queer or black or.
Okay, well, her pilot was a Native American girl who has psychic powers. So there you go. There she's back in.
There she makes the cut
In the good books. Yeah. Arrow Flight was her comic about that. It's really cool. It's about a Canadian. Well, Canada used to produce a fighter jet, and they were going to make it, and it was called the Avro Arrow. And for some reason, the whole project got closed down and destroyed and everything. And her comics about that. What happened? Why did the project get closed down? What would the Avro Arrow have been? So, yeah. That's a bit of promotion for Monique McNaughton's Arrow Flight. If you ever want to read that, it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's, of course, this does not concern women, okay, or even the progressive trend, which is like the biggest, the loudest and biggest focus. But I think you would be very likely to find similar things in, for example, conservative circles, and have people be extremely rejecting of, for example, male creators wanting to write about minorities or wanting to write about issues that are considered leftist or liberal or whatever. So it's not just, it's all, the very entrenched, rigid separators that have gates where you, in order to pass through these gates, you have to be able to conform to certain standards, in a sense. Which again doesn't sound too bad, but it doesn't come down to meritocracy, in a sense. It's not meritocratic.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter if it's right or left. Jesus Christ, my voice is coming back at me. Yeah, all sides do. I won't say both sides, because the world isn't made up of two sides. It's made up of many, 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 many different facets and all sorts of people. And the problem is, really is highlighting the creator above the work, which should not ever be done, really, unless there's, okay, we basically have a problem. We've got no Indigenous people creating this kind of work. We really have to, do something to change that, and we'll bring them up. When you've got those kind of situations, then, you've got to have some kind of positive discrimination in order to change that kind of balance. But generally, it's a negative when you're sort of highlighting the properties of the creator above the work.
I don't know really. Like, for example, in the example that you said, before you sort of put out a demand for like native Native American, did you say?
I just said indigenous people.
Okay, indigenous. Like indigenous people come and draw this for us. Why don't you first check to see what they are actually drawing already?
Yeah.
They probably have some interests, those that are artists, and they probably are already creating sequential art, and they are already bringing something new to the table, given their particular background. Why don't you just let them and have them do this so that they will add to the art gene pool, in a sense? Why must they necessarily start drawing something different that is more mainstream? If in order for them to make it and be showcased and everything.
Yeah, or maybe they do mainstream stuff. Maybe they're just a normal person who grew up watching anime, and they do an anime comic, and this is what this native person happens to do. And then you pick out, we need native people, to show their voices. This anime crap, is that what you're doing? No, chuck that out. We need something that expresses, your particular struggles and fears as an indigenous person, and that's what we need to highlight in order for us to promote you as publishers.
Yeah, of course, the same thing. It goes both ways. It's like you take the pruning shears to this growing bush, and you create it into your impression, whatever it is that you wanted to show, but you never get to see the shape that it would create if you just let it grow. So that's the same in that.
And that way you're further further ghettoizing these kind of people. Oh no, we want to promote your work, but we won't let you be part of the normal mainstream society. You have to be our little freak in a cage. That's what we're going to make you into. I'm sorry, but that's your life now. We can only promote you if you're our little monkey. If you're our dancing little, budgie in a cage. That's the only way it'll work. I'm sorry, but...
There is an official explanation, let's say, or perhaps defense of why this is happening, why people are either they force older and established works of art or narrative work or whatever to include things that weren't normally included, or they go the other way around. They force the artist that belongs to a minority group to create certain things that are mainstream. And the reason for that, supposedly, at least according to articles that I have read, is that the fan base is trained to want certain things. For example, they want Star Wars. So if you want to have diversity and expose them to diversity, you have to make Star Wars diverse, for example.
Okay.
Of course, that can and has backfired the way that it was done. Or on the other side, again, because it is what sells, if you want to get some exposure as a native person or, whatever person, like a minority person, you have to do this sort of work that people will pick up and read. Which, in my opinion, is not actually an accurate argument. There are grains of truth in it. But either it goes again to the extremes, so it backfires on everybody, or it just isn't accurate. And there are a lot of outliers that have proved this argument to be basically wrong.
Okay.
So, for example, Persepolis. That is not something mainstream, but extremely successful, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it was extremely successful, and people don't sort of pick up Persepolis in order to show their progressiveness and say, yeah, I really understand the struggles of a Muslim woman, coming from Iran and going to France or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to show everybody that by the fact that I'm reading it. It's more like I, as a person, am interested in this kind of thing that I have no way to know about, no way to experience. And this person has been kind enough to show me through her comic. So I'm going to read this, or through the animation. And I'm going to see this and actually be able to find out about it. So yeah, that's where people are coming from. Which is good. So really is the like the message there sort of really let the market decide and not force creators into a particular mold? Is that really what we're trying to say? What we're trying to say here is try, where possible, let the market decide, and as, publishers or people who are providing a platform, not force creators into a mold, not force creators to do things in certain ways.
Yes. What I'm saying, well, actually, what I would like to say is that when people get frustrated, feeling that they don't get their chance, then that means that you probably have some sort of ineffective arrangement going there. So since you get all these frustrated people on either side, you have frustrated audiences, frustrated artists, problematic productions, and perhaps titles that don't sell as well, which are also things that have been reported, like, for example, things that have been hailed by critics as being, the amazing work of so-and-so, such and such person, who is also very progressive and has included a lot of things and blah, blah, and it doesn't get traction for some reason. So maybe you are forcing it too much to the point that something that has good intentions gets ruined before it can blossom, and before it can actually give to the audiences and to the artists what you're supposedly saying that you want to do.
Yeah.
There's that.
So are you kind of saying propping, like, if you're something not as quality is being propped up kind of artificially, it actually hurts the cause that is underlying, and also that artists could be, maybe this is my interpretation of what you mean, that you have to make good stuff, like if you're like whatever ideals or whatever story you have to tell or identity you want to reveal or whatever, it has to be a story worth telling, good characters, interesting, something that's actually gonna, like the free market thing, sort of has to be stuff that people are going to want.
Actually, yeah, and it's not just we're like, don't think we're just saying progressive stuff is all really shit because our justified reasons for it. It happens with everything. We talked about like Cowboys and Aliens a while ago, a long time, which is the big movie made out of a Drunk Duck comic, a comic that was started on Drunk Duck. But really, this was a thing that these guys, Platinum Studios, whatever they were called, they wanted to turn this into a movie. And their idea was, in order to make a movie out of this, we have to get investors. And, all right, we're going to, like, webcomics is a whole new thing, so we're going to, like, put it on, like, this comic site and pretend that it's a really, really super popular comic. So they sort of manufactured that interest behind it. And then they, made these comics out, like a print comic version, and gave them away for free and, like, basically forced the market. So they made it look as if Oh my God.
Wait, are you saying what if, or is that actually what happened? I didn't know that.
This is what happened, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
So they
Wow.
made this whole thing. Oh my God, people are buying this comic. It's super popular. You should invest in this as as producers and give us the money in order to make a major Hollywood movie. And so they did. And they had, Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford and all these kind of people, Richard Carradine in this movie. So yeah, it was a story that wasn't very good. It was never a good webcomic. It was a piece of crap, to be honest.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, through forcing the market, they managed to get a big movie out of it. But yeah, this was something that did not stand on its merits. It was not picked because it was a good story to begin with. It was just a silly idea, cowboys and aliens. Someone thought, yeah, let's make a movie out of this idea, like ninjas and pirates.
And virtue signaling about being positive about extraterrestrials.
Of course.
Maybe.
Being woke about aliens.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly. In this world, we have to...
I'm woke about Plutonians.
Yeah. Poor old
And there is
Plutonians.
this remember that other Quackcast that we had about blackwashing history and stuff like that in the name of diversity. The same thing is happening. I think that it hurts the cause of inclusion. It hurts the cause of having everyone be super excited and interested in something that is different and something that is new and something that is not within your range of experience, because it's being shoved down your throat in such an inelegant way that it's like those ducks that are being force-fed for foie gras. So
geese.
You want to basically vomit it all out because of this forced, aggressive shoveling that is being done towards this particular thing. So for example, there are so many things hailing diversity that didn't do that and didn't need that. For example, the last Airbender, Avatar, the cartoon, not the movie, that was ruined for pretty much the same. The cartoon has an all people of color cast. There is not a single Caucasian in that particular cartoon. It is all about Asian cultures, assorted Asian cultures that you can place on the map if you research a little bit. And it's insanely popular and successful all around the globe, and especially with white audiences. So I do think that you need to force people to be exposed to different cultures by just keeping their eyes open with duct tape and saying, no, look at this and be diverse. Just give them a compelling story, give them compelling characters, and then everything else is going to come very smoothly and very easily. And that will include all the diverse groups that you want to include in.
Yeah.
Without any issues at all.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes, like your Hunter in Brave Resistance.
Yeah. And he has his own very compelling story that we're going to unravel slowly, analyzing it like a striptease.
Oh God! Look forward to that one. Oh, okay. All right, well, I think we should sort of end there. We don't want to run over too much over time and give people a 2-hour cast. Thank you for that, Tance. That was fascinating. And people remember to do a Twitter feature, Badger Tance, to force it.
We should thank MKS Monster because she actively DM'd me and asked me to talk about it.
Oh, really? So, interesting. Yeah.
That idea.
Yeah, have a check out the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, told by MKS Monsters. Have a look at that.
A woman.
A woman.
A woman writing horror.
Oh, precisely. Yeah. And it with no beard, as far as we know. Okay.
So silly.
All right. Thank you for being on the Quackcast, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.